So at this point, we've understood that deep, authentic networking is the ability to build mutually reciprocal relationships. As we've said, it's not about going into an interaction saying, what can you do for me? It's about saying, what can we do for each other? How can I assist you? We've looked at that. We've also looked at what stops us. What are the things that sabotage us from building authentic relationships? Now we're going to look at the different types of networking, because there is casual, incidental, by chance. I just happened to meet somebody in, you fill in the gaps, in a line somewhere, at a school function, at an event, you name it. I just happened to start chatting with somebody, networking. It's what I call casual, incidental, by chance networking. Then there's formal strategic networking. I'm interested in a position at X company in X division. Do I know the person that is the decision maker? I have to be strategic in reaching out to that person. Now remember, when we talk about strategy, we're talking about both in person and being strategic virtually. So for example, I go online, I go onto LinkedIn, I look at the company, I look at the division. I found out who is the person who's hiring in that division. Do I have the ability to strategically network? There's also strategic networking if I'm at an event and there's a particular individual I would like to meet. Do I know how to reach that person? And remember that strategic networking can be just a connection. It's up to you to say, do I have the skills to then follow up? There's strategic networking, there's casual networking. There's also networking or relationship building that takes place when you're on a virtual platform with your team. Are you zoning out, or are you paying attention to team members, some of whom you have never met in person, and saying, am I going to arrange time to connect with that person for a couple of minutes after the meeting so that I get to know them better? So as an exercise, I'm going to ask you to name in your day-to-day or your week-to-week, what are the different environments you're exposed to, and what are the different forums and opportunities that you have to both, and remember what I'm saying, nurture existing relationships, but where are you able to connect with people you've never met before and get to know them so that they become allies in your world?
Hello and welcome to Effective Goal Setting through discovering your purpose. My name is Ntsiki. I am a speaker, facilitator, and MC, and the founder of MentHer. For our time together, I'm going to share with you just a few tips that you can utilize to help you set effective goals to create the dream version of your life and business. Now, if we think about goals, a lot of people set goals and don't reach them. A lot of people have goals in their minds and don't reach them. But also a lot of people have dreams that they actually never translate into goals. And I love this quote by Les Brown, and he says that your goals are the roadmap that guide you and show you what is possible for your life. So let's think about the possibilities that exist. If you've ever set goals and didn't achieve them, you're not alone, right? So I know at the start of the year, New Year's Eve, people sit down, they go around those first 2 weeks in January, everybody's out setting New Year's resolutions. But did you know, of all the people who are out setting their goals, only 84% of those people do not realize any of those goals. In that group, 13% might achieve some of those goals, but for the majority, only 3% of people actually achieve the goals that they set. And you might be wondering to yourself, what's the difference between the 3% that get it done and the 84% that just simply can't seem to crack it? So why do most people not achieve their goals, right? Firstly, is that we are wired for safe. If we look at the neuroscience perspective of how our brains are wired, at a very basic level, your brain is wired to keep you safe, right? So the reptilian part of your brain, which is the stem part that developed first, that's where your fear, fright, flight state, freeze state is set up. And if your brain perceives something to be a threat, so for example, the possibility of you not being able to achieve a goal, your brain will go, hey, don't even try that because we want to keep you safe. So when we're going through the process of taking a vision into a dream, into our goals, and into actions that actually allow us to realize that on a daily basis, we then have to think about, shucks, what is it about my dreams that scares me? What is it about the kind of life and business I would like for myself that feels unsafe? And how do I then start to work with the wiring of my brain to say, brain, we can do this. It's okay. We're destined for greatness. The other reason why people struggle is that we do not write down our goals. Now, how many of us have the most fabulous of goals, the most fabulous of visions, and they're just in our mind? We maybe have never even said them out loud to the next person. And if we look at the stats, if you take the time to write down your goal, the research shows that the 3% of people that do write down their goals are 30 times more successful than the people who don't. And that's magic, right? There's just something about taking the time to sit down, write out your goals, write out the vision, and in that process, there's a transmitter that goes to your brain that starts wanting to action out the achievement of those particular goals. So if you're sitting there and you're thinking, gosh, there's just 1 quarter left of the year, and I had so many things I wanted to do at the beginning of the year, and I actually didn't write it down, so none of it got down. Do not despair. I'm going to share a tip with you later on something that you can do to achieve those goals. But I want you to take a moment and write down one big audacious goal, the one thing you would like to see done, and tick off your to-do list before this year ends. And we'll speak a bit later on how you can get that done. The third reason why people do not get their goals met is the balance of focus. So think about it as putting together whatever your goals are, whatever the vision is, and you have the picture, right? And that is the goal. That's what needs to get done. And then second to that is the focus, which is the frame. Now, if you just had a giant canvas hanging on the wall and it was the size of the entire room, you look at the entire canvas, the entire wall, your eyes might not find a place to focus. But the moment you take a frame and frame that picture or frame a part of the image that you would like to focus on, that directs your attention to a particular spot. Same with our goals. You take this grand picture vision and you begin to frame elements of it. And we'll talk about framing a little bit later on. But when you begin to frame elements of that vision and that dream, you're then able to find goals in that space. And then you're able to set up tasks aligned to that can allow you to start achieving your goals. So you're listening to me, you go, that's great, that sounds fantastic. I get why people don't succeed at setting their goals. I get why people don't achieve their goals. And I'm ready to become a goal digger, okay? And you're asking yourself, how do I do that? What's something I can do that's effective, that I can apply immediately, but I can also monitor to allow me to track the progress of my goals. What I designed a few years ago was As I Am purpose planner. And for me, a big thing around setting my goals is knowing who I am as an individual, understanding my purpose, understanding how I show up in the world, and having an understanding of the impact that I would like to make. And it is from that understanding that I then feel confident to set my goals. And if you think about it for yourself, there's a difference between going to a job or working on a project that you absolutely love and are passionate about, or are inspired by the work that you're doing, and the hours that you put in almost seem insignificant because you're enjoying what you're doing or you find purpose in what you're doing. Then on the other hand is working on a job, a task, and it's literally just punching in, right? And we've all been in that stage where you're just punching in and it doesn't really count. So how I believe you make it count is finding a way to link it to your big why. So yes, we all know what we need to do. We all know how to do that stuff. But what is your why that underpins that? What is the why that underpins how you show up in the world? And because we all love good gifts, I'm going to share the purpose planner with you as well. So don't panic and feel like you have to take all the notes as we go. So you might be thinking to yourself, okay, it's great to know who I am, but Siri, who am I? And that's one question I'm sure we can't ask Siri and get a good answer. But there are a few tools that have been developed that we can use that help us to start poking at this question of who I am. And oftentimes I find that people think it has to be this huge philosophical response that has grand details. And sometimes it's just a very simple thing. Who you are doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be dynamic. It doesn't have to be groundbreaking. It simply means that you know who you are, you have clarity about who you are, and in everything you're doing, you're able to show up in your power and your strength. So the first thing to help us ask this question of who am I is to create a vision, right? So think about your life. And this was a task or an activity that I did with my dad when I was in grade 9. So in grade 9, we have to choose our subjects for the next year. And those are going to be the subjects you're going to major in your senior phase at high school. And I went to my dad and I said, I'm not sure what it is I would like to do. I like these subjects, they are things that interest me. But in terms of the work that I'd like to do, maybe I want to do these subjects. And my dad simply said to me, close your eyes and imagine your life as an adult. Think about your life and how you'd like to live your life. Think about when you wake up every single day, what is it that you see yourself doing? So in the space of all things are possible, I closed my eyes as a grade 9 student and I thought about my future. And I said to him, well, I want to not have to be anywhere before 10 o'clock in the morning. I want to be able to decide what I want to do when I want to do it on my own terms. I want to be able to influence the kind of money I make and the people that I work with, and a bunch of other things that I shared with him. And he looked at me and he said, well, honey, what you need to be is an entrepreneur or a businesswoman, because there's no other way you're going to get that kind of freedom by having a job. So I'm challenging you to visualize, right? Take the afternoon, take the evening, maybe over the weekend when things are more chilled out and there's no noise around you, and you find yourself in a happy space with your favorite drink, maybe relaxing in the bathtub or looking at the sunset. Get into a space where you feel good and then visualize what you would like your life to look like. If I gave you a blank check right now and I removed all responsibilities, what version of your life would you be living? And that's the vision that we start creating. Another tool that I like to use to help identify what life should look like is the 3 most important questions that were designed by Vishen Lakhiani, who's the founder of Mindvalley. And the 3 most important questions Vishen asks, ask yourself, what are the things in life that you would like to experience? Make a list of all the experiences that you would like. Secondly, make a list of the ways in which you would like to grow in life. What are some of the growth avenues personally, in your career, in your spirituality, in life in general? When you think about growth, how would you like to see yourself growing? And the third key question Vishen puts to us is, how would you like to contribute? So in this life that you're living, when you look back at your life at the end, when people speak about your life, what are the kinds of contributors you would like to say you did? What are the fullness of life that you would like to see? And those 3 things I find are a really good place to help put a frame in place to help you drive your focus on the different things that make part of that dream, that vision, into goals that you can start setting to design a life and business of purpose and of influence. Another tool that I love to use is called ikigai. Some people call it finding your sweet spot. And it's taking the time to make a list of answering 4 key questions. The first question that you're asking yourself that you're going to make this list is, what are you good at? So what are the things you've grown up doing that people have said, gosh, you're really good at doing this particular thing? What have you studied? Where have you volunteered? What jobs have you had? Whether it was a full-time job, an ad hoc job, volunteering somewhere, working on a project. Throughout your life, you've participated in things that have built up your vocational abilities, that have built up your professional abilities. What are those things that you're good at, And sometimes we don't credit ourselves for the things that we are good at. So listen to the people around you. What do people often ask you to help them with? What do people often compliment you on? Maybe it's time that you don't think, they're just being nice, and take that into account and go, maybe I am really good at admin. And oftentimes what happens is when we are very good at a task, we assume that it's easy to do and therefore not important. But what you're good at, somebody else finds very challenging. And that is a place that creates magic. The second question to ask yourself is, what do I love? What am I absolutely passionate about? And this is a big thing because as human beings, we're naturally drawn to different causes. I'll say, I really care about climate change and global warming, and I do my part every single day as a consumer to be more sustainable, to do renewable activities. But I haven't dedicated my life to fighting climate change. And so I would spend budget and donate to causes where somebody else is saving the penguins, somebody else is doing a conservation activity somewhere, because that's what they're passionate about and that's what they're called to. Equally, I love working with female entrepreneurs and corporates to improve team dynamics, to find resilience, to find their purpose and create impact. That's a space that somebody else might not be passionate about and can support me to do that more effectively. So the things that you love and the things that you're passionate about are important, they are special, and they are unique to you. So you need to think about, what is specific to me and make that list. The third question to ask, what does the world need? So when you look at the world, what are the gaps that you find that you go, why hasn't anybody done anything about this? I really think this is a problem. Someone should do something about it. And those are pain points that are also unique to you because I might not identify those same gaps. And then finally, make a list of the things that you feel you can get paid for, whether it's directly from customers, whether it's directly from corporates, or whether it is from intermediate organizations like foundations that have an interest in what you want to do. And somewhere in the middle, there is something that you love, that you are good at doing, that the world needs, and that people are willing to pay for. And this is your sweet spot. So if you're then going to go and set goals of what you're wanting to accomplish, to create that dream, that vision for your life, it's a great guide. But if you're also going to think about, I've wanted to start my own business for a long time, but I haven't been sure what it is I want to do, this is something that you can look at doing. Or if you want to stay employed, but you want to find a greater sense of purpose in the work that you do, answering these 4 questions can help you figure out where best you can apply your skills. Another big thing around finding our purpose as well as setting goals that are linked to that is discovering your purpose. And that's a tool that I also include in the Purpose Planner and simple dictionary definition around purpose. The reason for which something exists, why we do something, why something is in place, right? So why do you exist? What are the things that you want to do? Where do you want to see yourself involved? And there's a section in the Purpose Planner that takes you through a more detailed process on how to come up with your own purpose statement. And I know I spent a lot of time working with one of my mentors and business coaches in my early 20s when I was saying, I know I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm just not sure the space that I want to play in. And we went through the sweet spot and finding my ikigai, and we went through the big picture thinking and started framing it and thinking about where impact would be. And really what it came down to after many, many coaching sessions was a place where I could define my purpose statement and say that I believe my purpose is to inspire, connect, and empower women and youth across the African continent to transform their communities through business. And in everything that I do, I've been able to use my voice, my writing skills, my ability to connect with people, my ability to start businesses. And everything that I do is driven around that key purpose statement, that when I do something, does it inspire? Does it connect? Does it empower? And in my servitude, am I doing what I said to do to support women and youth to transform their communities? So you can start thinking about that as well. The first time you come up with your purpose statement, it might not be succinct, but the more you work on it, you'll get to that place where it really comes alive for you. Now let's move on to effective goal setting. So you've got this great vision, you know what your sweet spot is, and now you want to set goals around it. Look at your life pie. Now, for a lot of us, if I say to you, hey, how are you? How's life? How are things going? You might give me 3 things that are happening in your life, family, work, and something else. But the truth is we're such dynamic individuals, and the life pie is how our lives are. There's all these segments we should think about and consider. And obviously in different seasons of your life, some segments might be bigger and some segments might be smaller. In the season when you're getting a degree, you're working on your PhD, or if you have small children, those segments will adjust. And that's okay. But the point is you considered all of these segments to your life. And so when you sit down and do your goal setting for the year, which I hope you will do diligently after this session, is that you'll sit down and look at each segment and go, for the next year, for the next 3 to 5 years, for the next 10 years, what do I see for myself from a career perspective, from a family perspective, from my own personal growth, for my own whatever it is, right? And you set 1 to 3 goals in each of those segments of the life pie so that you know that you've thought about goals for each segment of your life and you're not just spending life focused on work, or just your career or just your business. Once you've done that, a tool that I like to use is called One Play, One Move. So you've got a list of things that you need to do, but we know from a neuroscience perspective that your brain can only effectively focus on 3 to 5 goals at a time. So I'm going to ask you to do something very challenging. When you've looked at your list of goals across your different segments of the life pie, you then have to say to yourself, of all these goals, what are the top 3 or top 5 things I would like to accomplish for this year ahead? If you're going to do this now and take it seriously, just go, what's the one thing I want to accomplish by the time the year is done? And what that allows you to do is you can write down those top 3, top 5 goals, and underneath each of the goals, write down the one action you need to do to make sure that that goal is attained, right? And what that allows you to do is that when things are chaotic, when somebody else's emergency is becoming your crisis, you can look down and go, my focus is this particular action, and this one action will allow me to get things done. This is a concept I adapted from the book called The One Thing by Jerry J. Keller and Gary Papson. And what they talk about is looking at your year, break down those goals into different quarters. So you'll go from a goal that's supposed to happen over 12 months and say, what does this action look like every month, every quarter, every week, every day, and in every hour? And anytime you find yourself experiencing a conflict for your time, a conflict for your effort, you can say, this is my goal, this is the action, and in this moment, I need to get this particular task done, which will allow me to move forward. So for example, let's say you're wanting to save 12,000 Rand for the year. And if you break that down, every month you only need to put aside 1,000 Rand. Every week you only need to put aside, let's say, 250. And every day, let's say that comes down to 25 Rand. Now, if I ask you to save 12,000 Rand in one go, it seems a bit overwhelming. But if I say, hey, how much do you spend on a cappuccino every day? How much do you spend on takeaways? How much do you spend on fill in the blank? And you can start finding opportunity costs throughout your day where you can start doing actionable things that allow you to achieve your goal. And it's the same with anything. If you want to finish a book, it's not the challenge of finishing the whole book. It's the task of simply reading a page a day. If you're wanting to set up a business and put together your business plan, it's not the whole business plan. It's one part of the business plan incrementally. And if you can find your one move, your one play that makes a difference, you can figure out how to be more effective in not just setting your goals, but in actually achieving them. And finally, just remember, goals do need to be smart. Be specific about your goals. Make sure that your goals are measurable, that they are things that you are able to do, right? And keep a track of your goals and go, am I being smart in terms of my goals? Another thing I like to think about is affirmations. So affirm yourself in your goals. Your thoughts create your world. The world around you influences how you feel. And it's important that you are mindful of that, because how you think and how you speak about what you're wanting to accomplish goes a long way. Another thing that I find very helpful in setting goals is finding mentors. And a nice quote is that a mentor is a brain to pick an ear to listen, and a push in the right direction. So who are people around you? I've written a book on this, and one of the reasons I've been able to attain different success in different things that I've done in setting my goals and achieving goals is finding mentors who can support me on that journey. So if you're thinking about it and you're going, okay, who do I need to find in my team? Get a mentor, get a sponsor, get a coach, and there's different things I can work with you on how to identify each of those individuals. And for those of you asking yourself, where do I even start looking? Your network has everything you need. So the places where you work, the places you volunteer, your entire industry, your company, your community, online, right? The internet is a great resource for searching. And then in the process, I always believe in a perfect stranger, that if you tell people that you're looking for a mentor to help you do X, somebody at some point will go, oh, hey, I heard you're looking to do 1, 2, 3. I know someone I can connect you with. So definitely always make space for the perfect stranger. And finally, gratitude. I am a big believer in utilizing gratitude as part of actualizing our goals. So really being grateful in the moment for what I have, but also using gratitude to create capacity to receive the next, right? So there's a section in the Purpose Planner that allows you to practice gratitude, but some research I wanted to share on the Happiness Advantage by Sean Echo, and you can jump ahead and watch a TED Talk if you don't want to read a full book. But one thing that he highlights is the fact that if you are happy, if you have gratitude, that creates a state of positivity in your brain, and that allows you to start believing that you can get things done, and it's really that art of shifting gratitude from the other side of accomplishment to before the accomplishment, that you can step into wanting to get things done already grateful for the end result instead of feeling like you're striving to make it happen. And gratitude is a really nice tool to use because it allows your brain to simulate that experience as if it's already happened. So it's a nice way to trick your brain. So going forward, what do we do around continuous learning? How can we continue to partner together? Firstly, I'd love to gift you a free copy of the As I Am Purpose Planner for you to work through all of these things in your own time. So you can head over to my website, www.ntsikim.co.za, or you can send an email to info@ntsikim.co.za and just put Purpose Planner in the title and you'll get a free copy of the As I Am Purpose Planner. And secondly, I'd also like you to get a free copy of our digital magazine that we publish at MentHer. And this is a great resource if you are a woman in business and you are a startup, you're working by yourself, and you just want to plug into a community. Head over to our website and you can get yourself a free copy of that as well. And also, I would like to work with you. So if you are an individual or a corporate and you're thinking about how does my team begin to be effective in how we set goals, how do we begin to be more effective in accomplishing those goals, or even just how do we get on the same page on what needs to be done? That's something I would like to work with you on as well. And then also, if you head over to my website and send me an email, you will go onto the waiting list for my upcoming book around purpose finding and goal setting, which will share with you a lot more details than what I was able to cover in our 20 minutes together. But you'll be first on that list to find out when the book comes out. A quote that I'd like to leave you with is by Tony Robbins, and he says that goals are like magnets. They'll attract the things that make them come true. And that's really true, that when you start thinking about your goals, when you start thinking about actioning your goals, you'll find things start showing up. It's like when you think about buying a car and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car everywhere. It's the same with achieving your goals. That's it from me. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that you go out there and you achieve that big, audacious goal and you make it happen. And once you have, connect with me on Instagram. I'd like to hear how it's going.